All right, testing 1, 2, 3. All right, hi everyone, Dr. V. Quick message. Why would I get on people want to send messages? All right, quick message, and this thought came into my head, and I hope it comes out as clearly as it was said in my head. But I was reading something, and it talked about off season, and that word stuck with me, or phrase stuck with me for a minute. And I'm like, off season, off season. So as it relates to sports, off season is when you're not on the field, your team is not playing, or your particular sports area is not playing. And that's not the time where people just chill out. Like, they may relax a little bit, but that's the time where the athletes really get in shape the most. That's the time when they do the most conditioning, the most practice, and everything like that. And I started thinking, like, well, why is that coming to me? Why is that phrase coming to me? And then I wanted to encourage the people who may have felt like, oh my gosh, here it is again, another year, and I have not accomplished everything that I set out to accomplish. And it's very easy to do that, especially when it's time for reflection. I'm a big proponent of reflecting and everything like that. And however, I know that sometimes reflection can be a trap. And what I mean by that is, it's easy to look at all the things that we did not do right. And then, yes, we can look at the things that we did wrong, and that's great. But for a lot of us, we get like, man, here it is again. And sometimes we may not want to set the goals or think it's big because we're like, we don't want to fail again. But a different perspective that I want to offer for this time, if you are like me and you're wondering like, man, I didn't hit everything in this particular area. Now go with me. When you think about sports overall, there are different categories: basketball, football, soccer, hockey, tennis, anything else you want to throw in there, right? And everyone doesn't go on the field at the same time. Everyone is not all going right at the same time. Like right now, I think is what basketball and some football, even though like there is an off season for that. But I know baseball, it probably isn't playing right now. This is December as I'm thinking, but the sports like that, you know, they're in training camp. But think about your life. Like there are certain areas of your life that rely football on, up there doing the doggone thing, and there are other areas probably like, you know, soccer, not really hitting it. You know, they're not on TV, they're not having games, but you know, they've been practicing and things like that. So it's easy to focus on what's been on the playing field, but I want you to think about the areas in your life that may have been like the summer sports, right? The sports that are not, you know, the main thing right now. And I was thinking about this as it related to, there are parts of your life that you don't think that were in training, but they were, because you weren't focusing on them like you would focus on the actual sports that's happening, or the actual thing that you're focusing on. There are things that were happening in the background during the off season of your life. And I want you, the best way, because I've been thinking about this, the best way that I can think about or have this idea is, I remember when I was in undergrad, and my minor was dance, so I took a lot of dance classes in undergrad, and a lot of football players would come in during the time and take dance classes, and it was like, oh, you just want to be in here with the girls. But that wasn't true. They were in there because they needed to focus on their flexibility, agility, and all those other things like that. And this wasn't the time for them to go lift the weights or to go run and do like the sprints or hitting the tackle bags or anything like that. And I know some of them, they used to get so pissed off at the coach, like, coach got me up here in this game, in these dance classes, you know, when they're like, I should be lifting the weights, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be out there in the field. And coach was like, no, I watched you in the game, and while you were doing the doggone thing, you were actually on the field, you were playing. Did something just hit me? I need you to work on another area of your life, or I need you to work on another area of your game. And for some of us in 2021, we were like that, you know. We wanted to be out there, start the business, or you're out there starting the business. You're out there doing the thing. You're out there making the programs, and you're out there speaking. You're out there trying to get the contracts. You're actually doing the work, and you're like, man, nothing is happening. And coach, I believe in God. You can believe in whomever. God is like, Coach God is like, yeah, but no, not this right here. prime example. I won't get too much into details. I was doing all the things I should be doing, I would say, for the business, doing the posts, during the launches, during the email sequences, during the core, all of that. And then over on another part of my life, it was jacked up. Like, really, God, you got me dealing with this over here. Now, I probably didn't see all of the things that were happening because I was so focused over here. I didn't understand why something over in this side was happening. But now, as I look back, I needed to, what that situation helped me to realize that there was a blind spot in my life. That part of my life had been in off season, but it hasn't been being developed. So looking back on the lessons, it's like, what was happening in the off season or something that you think wasn't working out for your good, it is actually to enhance you to play the game. So back to the football players. Yes, some of them were pissed off at coach. I know for me, I'll say I was pissed off at God, like, really, this right here? Now, whether I may have caused everything or not caused it, that's besides the point. It was still happening. And it was like, really? But I'm still going to do what I'm supposed to do on this side, but this is still like background noise. So with the football players, they were like, all right, we can still go out there on the field. They still had to do the lifting weights and all that. But some of them still had to go to ballet classes and jazz classes, and everyone else didn't have to. So here's a way to look at that. Sometimes, we want to be in the game. Coach put me in the game, and coach is like, I had you in the game, but I see some areas I need you to develop. And your practice and your development is not going to look exactly like the game that you're designed to play. So yeah, you might have been in off season. So let's say, I don't want to get too much into sports because I don't want to mess it up, but you might have been in off season, but however you're practicing, you were off season. Let's say, I don't know, you're a tennis player, but you need to go do swimming because you got to build up your endurance. You out there just hitting a racket, your coach is probably like, that's not it. You're good at that, but that's not getting you to where I need you. I need you out here to get these laps to build up your endurance. So I hope that makes sense. Sometimes what you are needing to develop and the strategy and all of that is not going to look like the game that you're about to play. So with the football players, they needed that flexibility, agility, and to be able to turn and make those moves and jump and duck and roll. And we've seen a big improvement in those players when it was time to do that. They were already great football players, but coach needed them to go to another level. And the only way that they were able to go to another level was to work on a skill set that was in the background or something that during the off season. Now, they didn't come to ballet classes or jazz classes or any of the dance classes when it was time for them to be in the game, because now it was time for them to do the work. So what am I saying? What does all of this have to do with off season? I believe for a lot of people, 2020, 2021 has been an off season. And yes, in 2020 and in 2021, there have been millionaires and billionaires that were made. Well, it wasn't off season for them. It was time for them to be in the game at that time, but that doesn't mean that it's not enough for you. So now it's a rotation. Not saying that they're going to fall and collapse. Absolutely not. But it's just a rotation in the shift. Now it's your turn. So coach has seen you. You were out. Now, this is not the people who didn't do any work. I'm talking about the people you've been working on a particular set of skills. You've been on this focus, but you were also dealing with some things in the background. Well, now it's time for you. Coach is going to put you back in. Hold on for a second. All right. So I hope that makes sense. So I hope you can see me, like my lighting. Okay. I'm going to go back and pause it. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So your off season practice is not going to look like the game. And so now this is the time. It's time for you to get back in the game. And you're like, man, I don't think I'm ready. But coach is like, you are ready. But especially if you were handling and doing things, you were still getting up. You may not have understood all of the things that were happening over there. You were being prepared in the off season. So you are ready. 2022, for a lot of people, this is the time that you're back in the game, and this is the time for you to gear up with the confidence. And even though you don't think that you've been practicing the skill set that you need, you have been, but there was something else that needed to be developed in the off season. So this has been your off season. Don't try to figure out everything. You can reflect on a little bit, but don't go down the rabbit hole. Don't go back and revisit, because some of it could have been trauma or drama. But just know that what was the lessons learned out of all of that, and I guarantee you that it is preparing you for such a time as this. I know it sounds cliche, but it truly, truly is. And I know for a lot of high achievers, especially when you don't hit your goal, sometimes we get distracted and get discouraged, and we just want to throw all the goals away. Now, sometimes that is necessary to throw all the goals away, but sometimes we need to cast the net again. Hold on. Okay, so let me finish this before I actually start driving. I was trying to get something to eat. That's why I kept saying hold on. So let me just park and then finish this. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So gear up. You are in the game. Can you see me? It's time for you to get into the game. It's no more practice time. You have everything that you need. I know it sounds cliche, but you won't know what else you need to develop until you get into the game, and then you're not going to know why you were dealing with whatever you were dealing with during the off season until you get into the game. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to understand every single thing, and it may not be in 2022, but something subconsciously, or even by, I'll say this, by memorization and memory and body memory and all of that, it'll kick in. So as it relates to like the sports analogy, the player may not have been thinking of when they're on the field, especially for the football player, he may not be thinking about the plie and the je m'appelle or whatever, the releve when he's on the field, but there's going to be something that's going to come to him. There's going to be a big old player coming to knock him down, and he's gonna jump higher than he thought. He's gonna be able to spin faster than he thought he could, and then he's probably not gonna remember in that moment that it was the ballet training that helped him, or whatever the dance class is. Could have been African dance because I took that too, but it could have been any of that. And then when he does it, and maybe when he sits down and reflects, he'd be like, wow, I really needed that, because while he was lifting the weights, going to the pushing the bag, none of that was helping him do that. So I hope that this encouraged you some way, somehow, that this is the time that you're going to be, this is your season. And I know you hear that a lot, but truth be told, every year is your season. But I want, and this is for me to start thinking about in terms of thinking about sports. All the areas of your life, they're all in the sports industry. They're all in athleticism, or however you want to put it. All 12 areas of your life. I'm pretty sure we can figure out 12 types of sports. Sometimes the highlight, it could be your family, it could be your business. Those are the things that could be booming. But right now it's like health and your not career, but your creativity or something like that may be like on the back burner, or maybe off season, and you don't think it's being developed, but it really is. And then when your finances and family may head off to the playoffs, right? So it's like, okay, so now it's time for the other crew to start, coming back around. But no, I don't want you to think, and I have to do this as well, because my grandmother's like, this is your time, this is your time. She's like, well, every year has always been your time. And I'm like, Grandma, it doesn't feel like that. But yes, it has been. Every part of your life has been developed for different times and different occasions. Everything isn't going to be highlighted. Everything is not going to be on TNT or the NBA game channel, or prime time. But there is a time where things are happening in the background. So just think of this as now it's a rotation for something that you've been wanting to take center stage. You've been wanting it to be on primetime TV, and now it's about to be on primetime TV. It truly is, when God said there is nothing wasted and he will use everything. That is so true. And don't spend your time like me, because sometimes I'm like, let me try to figure out what was the lesson in this to help me do that. No. When coach said gear up and get into the game, get up and get in the game and do what you're supposed to do. Don't worry about all of that. This is not the time to go be rehearsing any of the dance practices that you had. It's been going back to the football scenario. That's not the time to do that. This is the time to get in the game and let your body go ahead and do what it's supposed to do, because it will remember the training when it's time for the hits to come. Let's say like coach saw you in 2020 and in 2021 you're out there doing your thing, and I hope I don't tear up because I just got this revelation. You've been getting knocked down, and coach, because he's a good father, he's like, my goodness, okay, you gonna stay in this game, but let me just put you over here in a little bit. And you're like probably mad and pissed off. God, I want to be out here doing this. No, go do these plies and releves over here. Look, now he's putting you back in the game, and he was like, all right, now it's time for you. I don't want to hear it. So now when this comes, I need you to plie, releve, jump over, move, because now you've been trained to do that. All right, so I hope that makes sense. I hope that encouraged someone, because it definitely encouraged me. I'll add another analogy. 2021 for a lot of us could have been feeling like the Black Panther in the scene where he had on the suit, and you can hit the suit, and it can take all of the trauma and the beatings. And a lot of us, still moving, and it's like we haven't gotten down yet, but man, we've been getting hit and getting hit hard. But at a certain point in time, that suit can only take so much, and then the power is going to unleash. And I feel like that's for me, because grandma keeps speaking it over me, and then she told me someday, she was like, you gotta believe. And I'm like, well, gosh, grandma, she don't know that I've been in this whole group of women who have been studying about believing bigger. But grandma was like, you gotta believe. And that made me think, like, man, maybe I haven't been believing like I should have. And that's some of the lessons learned. I haven't been believing like I should have, but thank God for grace and mercy, because he's been guiding me along the way. But still, I gotta do my part in believing. But anyway, so now it's time to unleash that power, because now you've been getting those, those marks, and you can see the lights. You can see everywhere you've been getting hit. You can see the scars. And all of a sudden, when the focused power, when he had to focus that energy and harness it, it exploded. And I think for a lot of us who've been getting hit like this, we're about to explode in the 2022. So remember all of that. I hope all of that makes sense. Let me know. Just let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear your analogies or your thoughts about what's been happening and what is to come. And again, like I said, I know it sounds cliche, but the reason why it sounds cliche, because there's a season for everything, and the season doesn't mean that is not done. It just means that it is maybe the off season, and there could be an on season, but it doesn't mean it's an out season. All right, so that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for listening and learning with me. And as we're going into the 2022, remember to be well, to be bold, to be empowered, and for most importantly, to be brilliant. I need to come up with a new thing. I think I want to say it's an awesome time to embrace your brilliance. And I will see you on the other side in the 2022. Bye.